Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Erling Halland is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's #1 transfer priority. Solskjaer did say prior to the game against Real Sociedad that he's keeping in touch with Erling Halland. He said earlier on this season that he's following Erling Haaland's progress, because he made a new Erling Haaland transfer admission. I would love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to sign Erling Haaland. You know, Solskjaer knows the player well. Solskjaer was the one that gave Erling Haaland his debut at just the age of 16 at Molde. Back in December 2019, Solskjaer and Woodward went to Norway to meet up with Haaland to negotiate a possible move to Manchester United. Now, there's been a lot of clubs in for Erling Haaland. You know, Bayern Munich are interested in him. Chelsea have been heavily linked with him. Chelsea are confident they can get Erling Haaland on the board. But it actually said that Erling Haaland is not interested in making a move to Chelsea. Apparently Chelsea are willing to offer him a financial package. Manchester City and Liverpool have also expressed their interest. Now, if Haaland is to be sold in the summer, I think Dortmund will demand in the excess of £100 million. Next year, he will be available for £68 million because that's when his release clause does become active. His agent, Mino Raiola, said the other week that there's only 4 Premier League clubs that can afford him. Since his arrival at Dortmund, he has been a revelation. He's been at Dortmund over the year. Dortmund paid just £17 million for him, and he's got a contract with Borussia Dortmund until 2024. Now, Dean Henderson wants De Gea's spot. I think we should put Dean Henderson as our #1, because I think he's reliable enough now to become our #1 goalkeeper, because he has got that experience behind him. He endured 2 successful loans with Sheffield United, and he's done well in the games he's played in this season. Dean Henderson is set for a run of games because De Gea is out at the moment due to personal reasons. Solskjaer admitted earlier on this season that it's becoming more and more difficult to leave Dean Henderson out of the side. The other week, Dean Henderson threatened to quit the club if he's not assured the #1 role. We revealed our asking price and it was £40 million. There's been a few clubs interested in him. Solskjaer did say a few weeks ago that he's prepared to sell either De Gea or Dean Henderson in the summer, because Solskjaer has been facing a goalkeeping dilemma. Like I said to you yesterday night, we could sell David De Gea in the summer, so that would make Dean Henderson our first choice goalkeeper. We do value David De Gea at £50 million. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has already warned David De Gea that his #1 jersey is under threat. Said the other week we was looking at Donnarumma from AC Milan as a possible replacement for De Gea. De Gea has been a long servant at the football club. This is his 10th season at Manchester United. He's been with us since the Sir Alex Ferguson era. A few years ago, David De Gea was regarded as the best goalkeeper in the world, but in the last couple of years, he's made calamitous mistakes, and reflecting on that, he has become a liability. Back in 2015, De Gea was very close to joining Real Madrid, but due to a fax machine, his move to Real Madrid never materialised. I think when De Gea leaves Man United, there's a good chance he'll go back to Spain. Main explanations is because he was born in Spain, began his footballing career in Spain, his girlfriend's from Spain, his relatives are from Spain. David De Gea is on £375,000 a week. I think we're going to offload quite a few players in the summer transfer window. I think there's a good chance that Juan Mata will leave the club. Juan Mata doesn't get in our team now. Solskjaer did say prior to the game against Real Sociedad that he's not surprised that Juan Mata's linked with a move away from the club. I heard that there's 3 Italian clubs interested in him. Earlier on this season, Juan Mata rejected an $18 million a year contract offer to play in Saudi Arabia. Mata's had a good career at Man United. He's been at the club over 6 years. He's made over 200 appearances in all competitions and he's scored 50 goals. We got him in a deal worth £40 million from Chelsea back in 2014. He's actually out with injury at the moment. A lot of United fans have said that we need to sell Anthony Martial in the summer. Anthony Martial is not good enough to represent Man United. Martial has been out of form for the vast majority of this season. He's had chances, but he just hasn't converted them. Solskjaer did say that he's been impressed with Anthony Martial's work rate and he's backed him to rediscover his form. If we sell him in the summer, we'll get around £30 million. Who's Man United's long-term number 9? It's not Martial and it's certainly not Cavani. Martial, though, to his credit, was good last season and he was good in his debut season under Louis van Gaal. We got Martial as a 19-year-old. He's been at the club now over 5 years. I think it was last season Solskjaer gave Martial that number 9 shirt. Matic, I think there's also a chance we'll sell him in the summer. Matic isn't one of our first choice midfielders, but he still gets his chances. He's had some good games as a Man United player, but I've always had my strong reservations about Matic because he's always been a slow player and plus he's ageing up. Matic has been at the club now almost 4 years. We got Matic in a deal worth £40 million from Chelsea back in 2017. A lot of United fans have said we need to offload Victor Lindelof. Victor Lindelof is too much of a liability and Lindelof and Harry Maguire don't complement each other in our back line. We need to keep Lindelof out of the team. I certainly prefer Eric Bailly to Victor Lindelof. But my element of concern about Bailly is too injury prone, so in that aspect he is a liability. Yeah, Lindelof's had some good games, but he's had a lot of bad games. We got Lindelof in a deal worth £31 million from Benfica back in 2017. And if we sell him in the summer, I think we can get from between £15 to £20 million for Lindelof. Romero, I'm expecting him to go. Romero's our third choice goalkeeper. Phil Jones, I also want him to leave this year. I'm surprised he didn't leave in the January transfer window, but Solskjaer said that Phil Jones is going to be given a second chance. Jones doesn't even get in our team. You know, Jones is the only outfield player that's still here from the Sir Alex Ferguson era. This is Phil Jones' 10th season at the club, so he has been a long serving. He's been out with injury for over a year. But like I've said, this year's summer transfer window is the biggest in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's managerial career because we do need to make signings. I'm expecting us to make 3 or 4 signings in the summer. Solskjaer did say he's only interested in bringing in players that would be a perfect fit for the club. Don't forget Solskjaer recently sent a transfer warning to Man United fans saying we won't be very active in the summer transfer window because of the coronavirus pandemic. The board have got to back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the summer transfer window because the board have not backed him enough so far. And Ole has endured 4 transfer windows as permanent Man United manager. Yeah, he has made some good signings, but he hasn't got all the players that he wanted to recommend in as yet. So like I said, in that aspect, the blame stems from the board. But Woodward's come out several times to show his support for Ole. Even when we was enjoying them very bad periods under Ole, you know, the board assured that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job was safe. And Woodward said towards the end of last year he will back him with a long-term plan centred around summer transfer windows. You know, Woodward's been at the club since 2012 and the Glazers have been at the football club since 2005. But the board are backing Solskjaer anyway because Woodward says there's been progress by Solskjaer and the players this season. Our net debt risen up to 455.5 million. A new centre-back and a forward are the 2 priorities. Now, you obviously know the news on Rafael Varane from Real Madrid. Recent narratives have said that Real Madrid are prepared to sell Rafael Varane to Man United in the summer. Back in 2018, Ed Woodward was prepared to sanction a £100 million move. Now I believe Rafael Varane is valued at £61 million. OK Dairo actually said that Real Madrid reduced their asking price for Rafael Varane to £43 million. The AS said the other week that talks over extending Rafael Varane's deal have not settled. There's a few clubs that are interested in him though. I'd certainly take Rafael Varane at Man United. He's a world-class centre-half and we need a centre-half. Rafael Varane would go well alongside Harry Maguire in our back line. And Varane's highly experienced, he's 27 years of age. He hasn't played in the Premier League as yet, but if he comes to the Premier League, I think he would exceed expectations. Varane has been a long-serving player at Real Madrid. He's been with them 10 years. He's made over 300 appearances and he's won 18 major honours. Real Madrid paid €10 million for him from Lens back in 2011. So there you go. Jules Koundé from Sevilla, he's still on our agenda. I do like Jules Koundé. His performances this season for Sevilla have been outstanding. You know the news on Jadon Sancho from Borussia Dortmund. Recent narratives have said that we are preparing a £50 million bid for Sancho. We've recently been given a Jadon Sancho transfer boost because Borussia Dortmund's CEO made an admission saying that Sancho, Halland and more Dortmund stars could be sold to avoid financial chaos. And Sports Bild said a few weeks ago that we're still very interested in Sancho, but the Athletic said different. They said we paused our transfer pursuit of Jadon Sancho due to the progress of Mason Greenwood. And like I've said, there's players that have really improved at Manchester United. And we've got good players in general. You know, you've got Dean Henderson. He's done well in the games he's played in this season. You know, Luke Shaw, he's the player of the season by far. He's really, really improving, Luke Shaw. He's getting forward well. He's getting into good positions. He's creating chances for his teammates. His crossing's getting better, and defensively he's been very good, Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw still remains our first choice left back, despite the arrival of Alex Telles last summer. You know, I thought when we got Telles in, he was going to be our first choice left back. Telles has done well in some of the games he's been involved in, but I prefer Luke Shaw because Luke Shaw gets forward better than Alex Telles. You know, Eric Bailly, he's done very, very well in the games he's played in. Bay and Harry Maguire complement each other in our back line. You know, Bay can intercept the ball well. He shows the ability to play out from the back. He can be effective in the air. Wan-Bissaka, I think some aspects of his game have improved. There has been some games this season where he's actually showed more attacking intent. His crossing's been quite good. He's got into good crossing positions as well. Defensively, Wan-Bissaka's more or less been superb. But he's endured some poor games where he's been caught out too many times and he lacks that attacking intent. I think he's got a long-term future at Man United. This is Wan-Bissaka's second full season at the club. We got Wan-Bissaka in a deal worth £50 million from Crystal Palace in the summer of 2019. You know, Wan-Bissaka could possibly emulate into the next Gary Neville. Fred, I think he's improved. He's had bad games this season as well, but he's had good games. You know, when he plays well, Fred, he can pass the ball well, he can get forward well, and he can break up play well. And sometimes he's very mobile. Fred has been at the club a few years. We got Fred in a deal worth £52 million from Shakhtar Donetsk. I've got to say, during his time in Ukraine, he was a world-class player. Paul Pogba, I've got to say he's a big miss for us. Because before he got this thigh injury, we was getting the best out of him. We lack quality in that midfield without Paul Pogba. Because he brings creativeness in that midfield and we're too defensive without him. Now, Solskjaer recently set a new Paul Pogba return date, and Solskjaer is hopeful that Paul Pogba will return before the March international break. The last game Paul Pogba played was a 3-3 draw with Everton. Earlier on this season, Pogba had an ankle injury and he was out for the vast majority of last season with an ankle injury. So he's sustained a few injuries now at Man United. Recent narrative said that Paul Pogba is open to staying at Man United now. after making a transfer U-turn, and he's willing to discuss a new contract. You know, Pogba has had a long-running transfer saga. He's been relentlessly linked with a move to Real Madrid. PSG have been in for him, and his former club Juventus have been in for him. Pogba endured 4 very good years with Juventus before he rejoined Man United. Said a few weeks ago we revealed our asking price for Paul Pogba, and it was £100 million. Earlier on this season, Solskjaer suggested Pogba could sign a new contract, and Solskjaer revealed that Paul Pogba is happy at the club because we have actually held talks over his future. Now, earlier on this season, Paul Pogba's agent, Mino Raiola, said he's got no intentions of destabilising his client's season at Man United. He said earlier on this season he was working quietly on Paul Pogba's transfer to avoid offence. Because obviously Mino Raiola's been criticised a few times and he doesn't have a good relationship with Man United. And he made an announcement back in December regarding Paul Pogba, and don't forget Solskjaer was furious with Mino Raiola's announcement. Pogba's our most expensive signing at the moment because we paid £89 million for him. And this is his 5th season at the football club since he rejoined. Earlier on this season, we triggered that 1-year extension on his contract, so he's under contract on Man United until June 2022. And in some games this season, we've actually put Paul Pogba in more of an advanced role. Looks very effective there, to be fair. But I can't wait till he gets back into the team anyway. McTominay, he's a decent player. He's enjoyed good games this season. His best game by far was a 6-2 win against Leeds, because he scored twice in that game and he also got an assist. McTominay's not at the level as we want him to be at as yet, but he can emulate to that level. You know, McTominay's still young, he's got a lot of development in him. Just after the first lockdown, he signed a 5-year contract with Man United. Did Scott McTominay. Donny Van Der Beek, he's also a good player when he plays. He seldom plays. You know, most of his appearances have come from the bench. He's only started 2 games in the league this season. Donny Van Der Beek, I think, has recently been out with injury. We got Donny Van Der Beek in a deal worth £40 million. And he can play in 3 different roles. So wait there a second. Bruno Fernandez, despite him being out of form recently, I still think he's our best player. And he's the best signing we have made since the Sir Alex Ferguson era. You know, he has made the difference in the team as Bruno Fernandez. You know, Solskjaer did say he's ready to ban Bruno Fernandez from international duty. I think he needs a rest at some point because he's played a hell of a lot of games, but earlier on this season, Solskjaer denied that Bruno Fernandez needs a rest. And he also denied that he needed a rest himself. Don't forget, Fernandez did say on his 12-month anniversary that he's planning on spending many years at Manchester United. He's won Player of the Month now quite a few times, reflecting on his good performances. I heard that we're willing to double Bruno Fernandez's wages to £200,000 a week. I said earlier on this season we were 3 months into contract talks with Bruno Fernandez. But in most of his games at Man United, he has been very consistent. But, you know, there's also been a few games where he has looked off the pace. You know, Fernandez was poor against Palace recently, and he also was poor against Chelsea. You know, recently he's been lacking that final ball. He hasn't really created a lot, and he's been dispossessed a few times. Mason Greenwood, I've also been very, very impressed with him since he broke into our first team squad. And I've been impressed with him recently, despite scoring. Earlier on this season, Mason Greenwood signed a new 4-year contract with Man United. Deserved a new contract, reflecting on his good performances. Marcus Rashford, he's a very good player, Rashford, but he's had bad games as well. We just need to keep Marcus Rashford out wide on the left because that's where he's more effective. And Edinson Cavani, he's made a fantastic impact since he's come in. Cavani's just come back from injury not so long ago. He did have a muscle injury. I think Cavani will be staying beyond this season. He said he wants to, and Solskjaer said earlier on this season that Cavani is set for contract extension talks. Now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, like I've said on my recent videos, he's not the long-term manager for Manchester United. But I think Solskjaer will be given at least until the end of this season. It could be given another season at the club. It all depends on how things go. There is quite a lot of Man United fans that are now Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out. I'm expecting Solskjaer to sign a new contract. He'll probably sign a new contract at the end of the season. Now, the last time I read up regarding a new contract, he says Solskjaer's future is in doubt because he admitted that nobody has spoke to him over a new contract. He says we could offer him a new 2-year deal. In a minute, yeah? Could offer him a new 2-year deal. One condition, that's if we qualify for the Champions League. Solskjaer is into the final 18 months of his current contract. But we can't sack Solskjaer at the moment because obviously there's no one available at the moment. Don't forget Pochettino was the favourite to take over at Man United when Solskjaer was under serious pressure, and Pochettino was the favourite to take over after Jose Mourinho got sacked. But even if we sacked Solskjaer, it wouldn't really solve anything anyway. Solskjaer hasn't got a proven pedigree as a manager. That's one of my big concerns about him. And his decision making really concerns me because he's too tactically naive, especially in the big games. Yeah, in some games he showed tactical flexibility, but he's got to show tactical flexibility persistently. Solskjaer, I think, needs to win a trophy this season to avoid the sack. You know, if we don't win a trophy this season, it doesn't mean he will be sacked, but if he wins a trophy, then Solskjaer will feel a lot more safe. And the FA Cup is a chance of a trophy, and the Europa League is a chance of a trophy. We haven't won a trophy since 2017, and that's not good enough to our standards because a club of our stature need to be winning trophies. We know we're not going to win the Premier League this season. We know Man City are going to win it. So obviously now top 4 is our aim in the league. I can almost assure we'll finish in the top 4, but top 4 is not safe yet. You know, we should be well out of sight of Liverpool and all of that because, you know, there's games where we haven't won, where we should have won. You know what I'm saying? It would be a disaster if we finished out of the top 4 this season. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been Manchester United manager now over 2 years, and reflecting how long he's been at the football club, he has gained some managerial experience and he has learnt quite a bit on the job. You know, we've endured some very, very bad periods under him where he's been lucky not to be sacked. Like I said, our board have got a soft stance on Ole with him being a club legend, but we've also endured some very, very good periods under him. A lot of United fans said And I also said we did give Solskjaer the job too soon. Maybe we should have waited until the end of that season to decide or not whether to give him the job. But we're giving the job permanently 2 years ago, reflecting on what he did in that 3-month period when he was the interim manager, because he won 14 games out of 19 in all competitions. I think the club is too big for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to manage, despite him knowing the culture of the club. We appointed Solskjaer in December 2018 to replace Jose Mourinho. He is our 4th permanent manager since Ferguson retired. We've sacked 3 managers since Ferguson. That was Moyes. We sacked him after 10 months. Moyes is the worst ever manager we've had. We sacked Louis van Gaal after 2 years, despite him winning the FA Cup. And we sacked Jose Mourinho after 2.5 years, despite him winning 3 trophies in his first season. And we're not even really known as a sacking football club. I think there's mistakes that have been made since Ferguson retired, and that's one of the main explanations why we haven't been that consistent. But like I've said to you on my recent videos, we've got to give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer credit in some aspects. You know, he was second in the Premier League. You know, at one point, Solskjaer got us top of the league until we started dropping loads of points. Then we're no longer top of the league. You know, we've got a fantastic away record in the Premier League. We haven't lost away from home in the Premier League for over a year. I think we're 21 unbeaten away from home in the league. You know, got us to the EFL Cup semi, got us to the FA Cup quarters, got us to the Europa League last 16, did well last season in his first full season at the club. Got rid of a lot of the deadwood since he got recommended in, and he has made some good signings, so you've got to credit him in them aspects. So anyway guys, that's everything to update you today. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon.